Continuing our reading in Abraham Hannibal and the Battle for the Throne by Francis Summers Cox. This time it's chapter 18. King Charles moves closer. The year is 1707 to 1708, December to February. Peter threw himself into supervising the endless building works in Peter's city, rushing around checking the city walls against a possible Swedish attack, and planning a huge shipbuilding program for the next year. However cold it might be, there he was, slaving away with his workmen, always with a shovel or a hammer in his hand. "Hard work's the best medicine for grief, boy," he shouted to Abraham. "Best medicine for anything, in fact." A little later, very quietly, he married Catherine. He did not call her his wife or his queen publicly. Too many people didn't approve of how Peter had got rid of his first wife, Alexis's mother, by forcing her to become a nun. And, of course, Catherine had once been just a servant girl, not quite the origins expected from the Queen of Russia. But it was a happy time all the same. Baby Catherine was well. Peter was always happier with his wife at his side. And then they made the long and difficult journey to Moscow to spend a family Christmas there together. A quiet Christmas it was, though without the boys. In Moscow, too, Peter had ordered the city walls to be hugely strengthened, and they went to inspect progress. It was like a vision of hell. Thousands upon thousands of men slaving in the icy winter gloom to build up earth walls outside the old brick ones of the city, their breath gasping in thick white clouds. Huge fires burning to warm and soften the rock-hard frozen ground so that they could at least dig out lumps of earth. If the Swedes did come and hammer on the gates, Moscow would be well protected. And in the horrors of that Moscow winter, when Abraham's bones ached from the cold and his nose and fingers and toes felt as if they would drop off, he sometimes thought of the gray, bony workers they had left behind in St. Petersburg, and their poor gray shacks, trapped in the middle of their frozen river and frozen marshes, at the edge of a frozen sea, and said a prayer of thanks that at least he didn't have to be there, and another prayer for all the poor souls who did, and the baking hot summers and mild winters of the Sultan's palace in Istanbul seemed very far away and long ago, as if the warmth and comfort of his home were just a dream. The only thing that spoilt this time of new hope was the whispers from round the country, brought in by Peter's secret police, of how much the people and the nobles hated the new ways, the new taxes, the forced work on St. Petersburg, or in Peter's shipyards and mines and factories. Whispers that one day the Tsar would find that he had gone riding around alone in the dark just once too often, and would find himself missing his head. And not long after Christmas, there was news from abroad that ended all chance of a rest. A messenger came galloping in on the road from Poland. Peter, Abraham, two other pages, and a skilled carpenter were all working in Peter's favorite place, the private carpenter's shop in his home. Peter tore open the letter from one of his generals. He was silent a moment, and then said quite calmly, "King Charles and the Swedes are marching eastward across Poland against us. 46,000 men. They've crossed one big river already. That's one of our defenses down between them and Moscow. Well, it's happening at last. At least we can get it over with now, one way or the other." "You mean there's going to be a big battle? A real one?" asked Abraham in excitement. "We're finally going to wipe out those Swedes?" Peter laughed, but without much warmth. "God willing, yes. I wish it was going to be that easy, you young hothead, but I fear we're not ready. Charles has one of the finest armies in Europe, if not the finest, superbly trained and equipped, while I have just an inexperienced rabble I've been trying to lick into shape only these last few years. Push them too far, and they'll just panic and turn tail. His army is modern. Ours still has a long way to go. Our cavalry bothers me in particular. They don't have the control. They don't have the staying power. Abraham's brain was whirling with hope and excitement. A real battle! A real battle with Russia's most dangerous enemy. Now's my chance. If I can only prove myself as a soldier, maybe save the Tsar's life or capture a Swedish general, then he'll reward me, give me my freedom, help me go to the Sun King. Your Majesty, I'll do anything you want in this war. Just tell me where you want me to fight and what you want me to do. I'll fight in the front line, anything. The carpenter and the other page boys were looking on in astonishment at Abraham's eagerness. The Tsar laughed. We've got enough inexperienced country boys in our army. You're untrained and still very young. Think the best job for you would be drummer boy. Drummer boy? How can I win fame as a drummer boy? I'm not a boy anymore. I'm nearly a man now. I want to be a real soldier like my father. I want to fight. I want to become an officer. I want to do great deeds. Peter swung round on his stool and took hold of Abraham's hands. Hey, what's all this I want? Black boy, you came here from Turkey as a slave, remember? You've done very well for yourself so far. Drummer boy is fine to start with. That's how I started when I was your age. Do that job well, and who knows where you'll finish. Listen, just to cheer you up, I'll put you in my star regiment, the one I founded myself. You'll be drumming alongside me, wearing the same uniform, just a few sizes smaller, that's all. Abraham tried to smile and said stiffly, I will do my best in this, as in everything you command me to do. The Tsar smiled at him. You're a better Russian than many of my countrymen, young African. I'd like to take your enthusiasm and give it to my soldiers by the bottleful. Abraham felt his face grow hot with pleasure at the compliment, but that night in bed he lay awake thinking about it. A better Russian than the Russians? He said. Am I really a Russian now? Is that what most Russians would call me? I'll bet they wouldn't. They call me Tsar Peter's African. That's what they call me. I don't even know if I want to be a Russian. Why do I want to fight the Swedes for them, then? I guess to make a name for myself, because if Abraham is somebody, it doesn't matter so much if he is a Russian or what he is. Because if I'm not a Russian, what am I? Am I still an Ethiopian? Can I even remember my own language? When I'm never, ever going to see my home again? How could I? A black boy traveling on his own through the Sultan's empire. It can't be done. He had never thought about it so clearly before, but that night it hit him. That's it. Somehow I'll make it to France, and I'll deliver my message to King Louis, but I'm never going to see Ethiopia again. This is going to have to be my home, and I've got to make the most of it. That's the end of chapter 18.